How are you? Welcome to our next session, PetsVivo, an overview of the pet industry at large. I really appreciate your bearing with us for the previous session, and now we'll be on our next session. I'll introduce the speakers. I was told that my pace was too fast before, so I'll try to read as slowly as possible. Hi, Luiz. Hi, Parham. How are you? Okay, Parham Akhavan, co-founder, product and strategy sales. 20 years plus building software and leading product across healthcare, insurance, and enterprise tech. Previously co-founder of Kudo, serial entrepreneur with global exposure, lived in France, Canada, the US, and traveled to over 60 countries. Impressive. Leads product, sales, and strategic direction at PetsVivo with a focus on scalable tech and industry impact. Originally from Iran, currently based between Taiwan and Texas, what a commute, bringing a multicultural lens to product and operations. Thank you, Parham. On to Luiz. Luiz Zamora, co-founder, client success and growth sales. Former VC investor who sourced and invested in over 20 companies for a New York-based venture fund. Strong background in real estate investing with operational insight into property, multifamily, and hospitality. Oversees client success, sales, and marketing at PetsVivo with a hands-on approach to growth. Lives in Austin with 2 dogs, lovely, and is deeply passionate about pets, real estate, and the hotel sector. Thank you both for being here. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia.
Thank you. Thanks, Natalia and Natalie. Hi, everyone. My name is Parham. Thanks for the introduction. We have slightly changed the title of the presentation to an overview of pets in public spaces. All right. I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to go slow. I'm fairly familiar with interpretation industry at large, so all right, so I'm gonna share my screen. All right. Luis, you can see that?
Yep, all good on my end.
All right.
Can everyone hear me? I see some comments about it being a little low.
Oh, I don't see the comment.
We can see you and hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Amazing. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Parham. A quick introduction. I actually live in Shanghai as well. Lived in many countries. I started Kudo. Some of you may be familiar with this product. And here we have my co-founder, Luis. Luis, you can go ahead with the slides and yourself. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Natalia kind of covered everything on my background. Last thing, I was a former college soccer player. So outside of pets and outside of real estate, those are my three passions. I have 2 dogs. I love them. Very, very passionate about animal welfare issues. Um, and now I live in Austin, Texas, but I've also lived across the US, uh, in the East Coast, in Connecticut, in New York, in Ohio, in the Midwest for a little bit, Washington, D.C., Idaho for a little bit, and now in Texas. Okay, next slide. So what are we here? What are we doing and what are we building? What Parham and I like to talk about is the pet revolution. And if you look at the numbers, it's pretty clear. In the United States, there are 165 million pets. That's a big number, right? For context, there's around 330 million people in the US, so about half a pet per person. Of those, around 94 million households in the US have a pet. This comes out to around 71% of US families. This is a big number. It's 2/3 of the US population. And in total, these households are spending around 152 billion per year. So this is a massive, massive industry as well, in terms of sheer numbers and in terms of economic power. But on top of this, we're also seeing this psychological trend, what we call the humanization of pets, where now 90% of families consider their pets a part of their family. So what this means on the economic side is there's a demand for premium services and experiences and living arrangements that now honor this bond. So previously, pets were, kept outside. They were performing a lot of tasks. Now we're seeing them as part of the family, and PetsVivo as a whole is trying to tap into this market and accelerate this trend even further, specifically in the housing and the hotel space. Next slide. But there's some parties that are concerned about this. A few to talk about are religious parties. You see this article on the left, the Pope very concerned about this trend towards humanization of pets. Governments, as we see in China and in the US, are concerned about the lack of population growth and the lack of children, and pets, specifically dogs and cats, kind of filling that gap for a lot of the younger generations, including millennials and Gen Z. So, yes, if you are a pet person, this is an amazing thing. If you are not and you're concerned about, the lack of growth, population growth, maybe this is not an exciting time for you, an exciting topic to be looking at. But for us at PetsVivo, this is amazing. This is what our business is built on. And so this shift in expectations and shift in behavior is now even breaking economic barriers. So even in economic downturns, we're seeing pet owners considering unchanging their commitment financially to their pets. So this is now an economically resilient industry as well that goes beyond ups and downs. And so a lot of investors and a lot of businesses are popping up in this market to take advantage of these new consumer behaviors. And let's dive a little deeper into the economics behind it. So, like I said, the pet industry as a whole is around 152 billion last year, or in 2024. The majority of this is taken up by food and treats. These are significant industries. They have major players such as Mars, such as Purina, these big household names that have been around for 20, 30, 40 years. These account for around $65.8 billion of that 152. However, like I said before, with the humanization of pets, premium services and premium products have become a major, major growing segment within the pet economy. So you can see vet care being a very big and very substantial portion. Supplies. So we're talking leashes, we're talking coats, we're talking beds, we're talking all of these things that weren't a thing 20, 30 years ago, now becoming a major part of the pet economy. And the breakdown, to dive a little deeper, the breakdown is around 68 million households own a dog and 49 million own a cat. So there's definitely a shift in the United States towards dogs. The rest of the world is actually a little bit more towards cats, but this ripple effect through the industry is showing that outside of food and treats, there's massive growing segments in the pet economy. And so who's leading this charge? Well, my group is. I kind of live between the millennial and the Gen Z demographic. And I perfectly fit the bill. I have two dogs. I spend an obscene amount of money on them. But Gen Z specifically, which is the younger generation, is seeing a massive increase in pet ownership. So right now, 18.8 million Gen Z household owns a pet. This is increasing 53% year over year. Obviously, you got to take into account a lot of these Gen Zs are now becoming an adults. They're purchasing or renting their own homes, so they're having more decision power on the types of things that they're spending money on. Additionally, younger generations like myself like to have more than one pet. Previously, someone would have a cat, someone would have a dog. Now it's becoming even more likely to have multiple, specifically with cats. I'm sure some of you guys maybe have cats. It's very, very common to have two now. They get lonely. They're not really going out on walks to the dog park and stuff like that. So it's very, very common for cats to have multiple. And funny enough, cats are becoming even more popular among millennial men. And I love that we're breaking down gender stereotypes here. I'm a dog person myself. I love cats, but I'm very allergic to them. So unfortunately, I can't. If I could, I would have multiple. And this is becoming an even more popular trend. I believe it. Natalie, I'm reading your comment right now. Okay, next slide.
All right, this is mine. Yeah, well, Luis you're totally right. So, but it's also help the ownership of home is changing because mainly the ratio younger generations cannot afford buying a house right now in this century. And this unbalanced income to cost ratio, more and more people are renting. And when it comes to renting, so it has a different economics and dynamics around it, and more urbanization, more smaller living spaces, and that pushes real estate industry to rethink the whole idea of pets. And on top of all of that, a lot of pet services need to cater to this growing population. So next, all right. So one of the things that we have focused on lately is rental communities. That is growing. In United States alone, it's more than 45 million rental buildings and rental communities, and 15 million single home communities as well. And again, these numbers are massive. So we know that 70% of renters, they own pets. And when it comes to bigger properties that they have here in the United States, common that properties are 100 plus units, and there are minimum half of the units they have pets. And some of the people, they do not report their pets because there is a rent that you have to pay when you have a dog or a cat. It's called pet rent. And there again, this ecosystem and economics around it, it's becoming problematic for landlords. So an average household spends anywhere between $2,000 to $7,000 per year per pet. On average, it's about 3,000 right now, the industry at large. But some people, they spend an extravagant amount of money when it comes to their pets. Again, pets are family here. And properties, not only they have some challenges when it comes to managing these sheer number of pets in their communities and buildings, but also they're missing on some revenue when it comes to that. For example, if a building is not pet friendly, they will be missing on that 70% that they have pets. Also, they're more into that I'm going to cover later. For example, our friend here, Luis, has two dogs, and both of his dogs are not uh, allowed to go to rental communities because of breed restrictions. We'll go over that. So there's a potential, there's an untapped potential that buildings they can tap into and reduce their vacancy. So when the same way in the United States, when a person goes and rent, I'm sure that this community, it's very much international, but in the United States, when a person wants to rent an apartment, they have to go through a system of credit check, background check, and so forth. Now, with pets, it's also almost the same. Obviously, there's no income for pets, but but they have to, buildings, they are somehow obligated for different reasons. Some of them are federal, some of them are state reasons and regulations, to check for breeds, weight. They have something called ESA, which is it's a growing thing. ESA stands for emotional support animals. So they have to check all these things. And then buildings, they have to have policies. For example, what if a dog a dog pees on on an elevator, for example. So who is in charge when there's a dog bite? So they are buildings. They are facing some challenges here, and at the same time, residents, they want to rent a building and they don't know where to go. For many buildings, they have very vague pet policies. They said breed restriction, but what is the breed of your dog? Can they recognize that? And so forth. What is the weight of the dog? And then on top, and then the are the vaccination records are the vaccination records valid at this time? And so all these pain points creates friction when it comes to renting an apartment. So compliances goes to, for example, in the United States, if a dog or a cat, or actually there's like a panoply of breeds and animals that that you can consider as emotional support animals. If they are considered emotional support animals, there are very specific and strict rules around them. For example, if you have an ESA, you do not, well, the landlord is not allowed to charge you for pets. So for that animal. Another thing is, if your dog is a service animal, your animal is a service animal, then they are considered as humans, almost with all the same legal rights, and you're not, the landlord cannot charge them, and many other things. So a little bit about this, about the naming. Every category is called a companion animal. A pet is different than a service animal. A pet is an animal, well, again, it's a little bit, it gets complicated and there's some naming around this. But when it comes, a pet is you can have them, but if this pet is necessary for for your emotional support or your services, we call them animals. So there's some legal definition, and there's like to appreciate here. Then we have a lot of local and federal laws, state laws in the United States that are becoming frictions, are becoming challenges for landlords to deal with pets or animals. Now, another exciting area is travel industry as a whole in the United States. We have around 25 million pets traveling in the United States alone. And this is I'm sorry. So we have so the whole travel industry is growing as well. We have dedicated airlines going from they're serving different cities, usually metropolitan cities like Paris, London, New York, Miami, and so forth. And it's called Bark Air. We have Retrieve Air. We have travel experts. Dr. Nelva is one of them, and they actually help. They help passengers travel with travel with their pets either in cabin or in cargo. I think Delta Airline has about 500,000 pet travels per year. So these numbers are huge. So it's growing. With all of that comes risks. there are different risks, but the main one lately is dog bites. We have more than 4 million dog bites in the United States, and that creates some challenges when it comes to safety, insurance, and how reliable are those data. So this is also a growing industry. If and a challenge that the landlords are facing. Should I increase my occupancy when it comes to being pet friendly? So that's one thing. And then, well, obviously they want to, but at the same time, as a landlord, I have to deal with safety and other challenges that comes with pets or animal ownerships. So there's a fine line there, but there are ways to mitigate those risks. They are ways to uh, make sure that pet owners are responsible and so forth. So there are ways, and there are growing ways. So, so one of the big missing part in this whole industry is data, pet data. So we want to make sure that animals, they have a profile that they can, their pet parents and businesses, they can use that. They can be, verified. And also longitudinal records. It means that we want to know a history and a pattern of a dog and its owner. It's very important. I mean, it's very important to not neglect the importance of the owner. Not, a lot of focus has been this dog is a let's say aggressive dog. Whereas, for example, one of the challenges of pet industry or insurance industry is that the ratio of the weight of a dog and its owner. For example, if the owner is a petite person of like 100 pounds or like 45 kilograms, and the dog is 120, that actually this is a risk in this. So, so it's not all about dogs, or it's actually a lot of it has to do with the owner itself. And how we can use this data across different industries. So where one pet parent has a dog profile, and then this dog profile can be used in hotels and can be used in businesses, in other businesses and rental units and so forth, or transportation. So that is why we would like to have and then the market is really need to have a universal pet records where you can have all the information needed around a pets with in that using an app or anything like this. So where you have your veterinarian records, your insurance and data on travels and service providers. So in the age of AI, definitely AI helps. AI, it does help. I'm sorry, there's a problem here in this area. But yeah, AI helps, but it's not the panacea of everything, obviously. It's just the data. It's basically we have to make a good use of that data for verification of documents, for finding a pattern of risks when it comes to behavior of that animal, and also making sure that we're not discriminating animals, and making sure that we have patterns, but at the same time, an animal it has its own behavior, and we've got to make sure that it's not discriminated. Luis, take over, sir.
Thanks, Parham. So why did we decide to build PetsVivo? Well, the time is now for pet tech to meet the industry's challenges. We talked about the housing industry's challenges. We talked about the hotel industry's challenges. We talked about how pet data is not being portable and transferring between these industries. So we are here to help these industries solve these problems. Next slide. And how we do that is through incident tracking and behavior records, enabling risk insights for communities to be aware of potential issues before they happen. It's also about rewarding responsible ownership, giving pet parents the tools to make sure that their pet is well behaved, protected, while in public spaces with other pets, with other humans, even children, and just making sure that we are giving and fostering a environment where good pet ownership is rewarded. And then lastly, building a trust system and allowing industries to make data-driven decisions with confidence. We're talking the insurance industry, we're talking hounding, we're talking hotel industry. We want to connect these ecosystems because the more data we have, the better decisions these communities and these industries can make. And our ultimate mission and goal is for a pet inclusive future. We want to make sure that we're designing a product and an offering that is both for pet parents and for these industries. And then we want to make sure that we're making intelligent decisions using the data that we have to support any kind of product or any kind of initiative that we're doing. But lastly, we really want to just make this inclusive. We want to make sure that the ecosystem of humans, of pets, and these businesses are all thriving in a pet inclusive future. And our hope is, our call to action is it's time for housing, hotels, and businesses to rethink and have a clear, intentional pet strategy that is fair for everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation.